Hello, hello, what's going on, world? Everybody out there all across the land. Of course, you know you're tuned into the number one station on the net, WHLR1.com Hotline Radio. I'm your guy, Keith Harris. It's wonderful, it's beautiful to be back, and we couldn't have started the show out with no better guy than this one right here. He's full of action. He's got a lot going on. The adrenaline's pumped up. Listen, without any further ado, I like to roll out the red carpet and introduce to you. Listen, this guy is a master of many crafts. He's a private investigator. He does the film and the television thing. He does it all. Without any further ado, I'd like to introduce Mr. Jax Atwell. What's going on with you, Jax?
How you doing, sir? Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, it's an honor to have you. Look, now I gotta start. Look, my first question is you spend a lot of time in the cold of Alaska. What's the weather like where you're at right now?
Well, I'm actually not in Alaska right now. I'm actually in Arizona.
Right.
But I go to Alaska quite frequently. But Alaska, actually, believe it or not, had a very warm winter. So some places, like Anchorage, the major city there, didn't really get a lot of snow.
Oh, okay.
So while the East Coast of Minnesota is getting pounded, Alaska's weather system's changed a little bit.
Well, you know what? That's interesting to know because I think a lot of people, people know it's not cold there all the time, but then sometimes even the nights can be longer than the days. Is that true?
Oh yeah, absolutely. One of the best parts about going to see Alaska, especially in the summer, is that you have almost 24 hours of daylight. So, and it's in the 60 to 80 degree range.
Right.
So it's perfect shorts and flip flops weather to go out and take part in nature.
Right. So while some of us are over here complaining about we don't have enough time in a day, some people are waiting for the sun to go down.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, then you got the flip side in the winter. It's a little darker, but it's not bad. You get used to it.
Right. I'm sure it's beautiful. Listen, to kind of start off and go in, let's take it back a little bit. You were in law enforcement at one point in time in your life, right?
Yes, sir. It's almost a lifetime ago, but it's about a decade ago. I did 12 years in two different departments, one up in Northern California and one out here in Arizona.
Okay. So, I mean, I guess it was, I guess when you're in that line of work, it's almost the same. There's no difference in any type of, geographical or, geographical differences. Crime is crime.
Crime is crime. I mean, obviously different areas have different things. When I was up in Northern California, in the Redwoods is where I worked, a small department, but you deal with a lot of, marijuana and stuff like that, a little more on the hippie side of, hippies, living up there, that San Francisco type thing. It's a little different than, you'd say downtown LA.
Of course.
It's definitely different people and stuff. But yeah, you're right. Crime is crime.
Right. Now, starting out with, starting out, in the force or being on the force like that, is that what kind of turned your direction into being a private investigator? You already had the knack. You knew what to look for. You had a good eye for it. Is that where it came from, or was it just some of the things that you saw from, being in law enforcement that just made you say, hey, listen, I want to reach out and help find people or help figure things out?
Well, like anything, some people just, they go to college and they just figure out what they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of, it was always in me. I don't have family that's in law enforcement or anything like that. I went that direction on my own and kind of got drawn to it. And you get into law enforcement and you realize that government's not all it's got to be.
Right.
And yeah, you like to help people, but politics and policies and red tape and all that stuff prevent you.
Yeah.
You go off on your own and do as private investigator. You can let your heart guide your way.
You know what? That makes a lot of sense. I can totally see that because, like you say, your creative mind state may allow you to do something that can get the job done and is right. But like you say, a lot of other stuff. What made you listen? Now you also like services because you also provide services to people as a private investigator. Also, it's not just on Missing in Alaska. You really do this.
Oh yeah, no, I've been a private investigator for a decade now. And I have my own company that's licensed out of Arizona, but I travel based on word of mouth all over the Northwest and Southwest Chicago not too long ago also.
Right.
Just, kind of my expertise and my, the trust factor in my name, I guess you want to say your name as a brand has kind of gotten out there and it's still building.
Right.
And as far as that goes, it just kind of steamrolls and, somebody knows somebody and they go with who they trust.
Right. And I tell you, it's being, you're kind of stuck in the middle because you have people who watch the show, and we'll talk about that in a second. But they get to sit down and enjoy watching the show. And then there's that other side for you where you really, really being a private investigator and really doing the job. Are there any times, or do you ever run into times where sometimes do you get worried sometimes, Jax, when you're doing your job? Is there ever any scary moments? Are you ever wondering, okay, has somebody figured me out, or?
Oh yeah, that happens all the time. But you know what I tell people? If you don't have fear, you're just stupid.
Yeah.
Because you gotta have fear. You gotta use it as a tool. Now you don't want fear to debilitate you and paralyze you in the moment.
Right.
But you want fear to heighten your senses. It's actually very powerful. It's a very powerful tool that, all branches of the military, law enforcement, or anybody who's in kind of a job that they have to use their adrenaline, they use fear. You learn to use fear as an advantage because it heightens everything. You don't want it to paralyze you. You want to use it to be a positive. And so in that respect, yeah, you always have that little bit of that going on. The more and longer you do it, probably the more you don't notice it as much.
Right.
But there's always situations that cause it.
Right. And for the listeners out there that for people who watch Missing in Alaska, they know just how informative that show is. But for listeners out there, I want to tell you really need to check it out, because listen, I watched the show and there are things that you learn. It's not just a show where it's kind of set up and then there's like, okay, we're looking for somebody and you can kind of tell that it may not be such as real or whatever. There are actually things that you can learn, and that's one of the things I like about the show. I was watching an episode the other day and I was learning about these the colors. I don't know if you remember what I'm talking about. You do this all the time, but the colors that are in the sky that
the Northern Lights, Aurora Borealis.
Exactly. And I had no idea that really existed. We've heard the term, but I didn't know it was real.
Oh yeah, it's one of the most beautiful, awe-inspiring things you could ever see in your life. I suggest it for anyone.
Did you have to learn? As you're doing investigations on the show, is every episode a learning experience for you as well? Are you learning things as you go along from doing this show in Alaska?
Oh yeah, well, I mean, that's the best way to be in life. No matter what you do, is always be learning, drawing more knowledge and more wisdom. But yeah, absolutely. There was 3 investigators on the show. Myself, who was private investigator, show me the evidence, pragmatic person. Tommy Joseph, who's extremely well known Alaskan folklore expert. He was our guy that we learned native history and all the reasons why natives believe people go missing and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you learn every single day from somebody like that. Wow.
Has there ever been times where you guys were just afraid on set, like, wait a minute now, cut that what was that? What happened?
If you saw the show, we go to a lot of crazy places. I mean, it was like extreme vacationing. Mm-hmm. These guys would go heli skiing and get dropped off by a helicopter. We're doing stuff like that on a daily basis, or ice caves on top of mountains on glaciers.
Well, you guys are tough. I mean, do you do this with? I mean, this is not military. This is just you guys just totally going in.
That's right. And but that's Alaska. All of Alaska is like that. You got to realize the landmass of Alaska is. You can picture Texas and California and put the land masses in Alaska and still have room. And then also on the flip side of that, there's only 700,000 people there.
Oh, wow.
So if you can imagine that, how spread out. And, if you take Anchorage out, which is around 200,000 to 300,000, you're down to 400,000 people spread out over a huge landmass. So it's just not a lot of population.
Wow. And they're like you say, the people are so far, you have to travel out long distances between just to get to someone.
Oh, yeah. Well, we learned that, when you're out in the middle of nowhere, there's no 911 run.
No.
There's nobody you can call. The other cast member I haven't mentioned yet, Ken Gerhard, he's a cryptozoologist. He studies, things that go bump in the night, so to speak. Things that not everybody believes in, but he's got a lot of science behind what he does. But about, I think it was 2 months into our investigations, he got injured very badly.
Oh, wow.
We were up this mountain creek at a waterfall, and we had to get him down off of there. And the only person to answer our satellite radio was a fishing boat, and we had to wade him out into the ocean water to get him out on the boat. It's definitely not something you
nah,
are gonna see in the city with there's no ambulances, D.M.V. showing up to your
right.
City,
so you guys are saying, and then the current is flowing out there too when you start talking about rivers.
Oh yeah, it was quite the harrowing experience. Obviously trained as a first responder and keep up with my first aid and all that stuff. But it was, when you're actually out there, there's nobody to call and everything's on you.
Yeah.
And somebody's greatly injured. It's a different experience.
And it shows a lot of trust between you and your team too, because you guys' lives are in each other's hands, honestly.
Oh, of course.
And have you, I guess, were you all as a team, I guess you all were doing this obviously before Missing in Alaska was ever aired in the first place. What is it like working with those guys? I mean, they're obviously they know what they're doing professional wise, but do you guys ever get to joke on scene sometimes? Because you always have to be on point. Do you ever get to kind of just joke with the guys on during the show or?
Oh yeah, obviously you don't see a lot of that on what gets cut for the final cuts for the show because they're trying to make it dramatic and stuff like that. But yeah, no, we're great friends.
Right.
We stay in touch no matter where we're at in the world. We're always keeping in touch and interested in each other's lives. And Tommy lives up there in Alaska, so he's there all the time. He's actually in the southeast Alaska, which is completely different than north. It's more like Seattle where it rains. So a lot of people think of Alaska as cold all the time, but the geography up there is very different than where you're at.
And sunshine.
We keep in touch. We're good friends. We had a lot of fun. It was kind of bumpy when we first started. All three different personalities from three different walks of life.
Right, three tough guys.
Yeah, so it was a little interesting in the first couple of weeks, but you know how things go. You bond and you survive, and then people that you probably wouldn't have ever been friends with become your best friends. Right,
you iron it out. Now going on, because listen, everybody out there listening, because we're getting ready to jump over into Jax as well, because then you're also on the acting scene. You've got Split Lip. You've been in 357 and New World Order. First of all, how do you like being in movies?
Well, for me, I originally just kind of got into it by accident. It's not my personality, the acting side.
Right.
I challenged myself to get myself past, my certain roadblocks mentally.
Right.
I started doing it. I'm not a professional actor by any means. I usually get roles just based on my look and,
Right. The reality. Yeah.
Yeah, so I usually get roles that are, close to how I am in real life.
Right.
So, it's nothing really I'm out there auditioning for. I usually have buddies, that are a producer, or somebody tells another person, hey, I have this perfect guy for you for that role, and that's how I get it. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. Those would be the type of the films. Now, do you plan to? Because I know you're comfortable, and what you do it because you love doing it. Now, film wise, in the future, could you see yourself doing more? Being in more pictures.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I enjoy it now. I still get that butterflies and man, do I really want to do this right before I go and do a scene or whatever? But then it's euphoric and you have a lot of fun. And I enjoy it, especially the product when it's done.
Right.
So yeah, I'm always looking for the next role. Seeing where else God will lead me.
Right.
I never know what's next in life. That's why I always keep every door open.
Right. Now, also, what is and when I might ask you a question, because I know, listen, because I want everybody out there to know, make sure you go watch the show. There's a lot of what times does Missing in Alaska air for everybody? Because I know we're different time zones.
Well, they've already played everything and done reruns. couple of rows of reruns, so I know everything's on all the sister channels now, and then they just run reruns here and there. You have to look for marathons. They tend to do them on Sundays. So they'll run like 7 episodes in a row on like a Sunday morning, once a month usually. But I know that you can stream it everywhere now, and I know they've recently released it in Europe because all of a sudden I had tons of people from Italy contacting me.
Oh, wow.
About the show, so I know it's over there too now. But you can get it on any kind of stream. Actually, I believe you can actually see it on YouTube. I think they're up there too.
You know what? I'm glad you said that, because that brings me to another question now. What if somebody calls you guys from somewhere else? Because listen, it's a huge place. Obviously, there's a lot of land mass. What if somebody from another country calls you guys up and say, "Hey, will you come over here and do this out here?" Would you pack up and go?
Oh yeah, I mean we would love that. You know how television and contracts and all that stuff work,
right?
So we would have some issues there, but I think the deep down side of it with the three of us, for as far as investigators, is we want to help people and solve things. So that side of it, I'm sure we would find some sort of way around it if that were the case.
You know what? What is the feeling that you get when after you guys have helped someone, or you've helped them get some answers or a little bit of closure? What's the feeling you get just to see the peacefulness that comes upon them after you guys help them? I mean, I know that's got to be deep.
Well, it's always deep, and I am fortunate because as a private investigator, I get to do that on a daily basis, no matter where I'm working.
Right.
And that's the connection with my client that I have, that you didn't have when you're in law enforcement, is that I can see some of these cases all the way through and get to see it.
Mm-hmm.
The joy, even just closure, because let's be honest, a lot of these things don't ever end, with happy endings. So just closure for people is huge. A lot of people need that mentally. And being that, conduit for them to get that it's huge. It brings a lot of peace.
Right. How do you guys? I know you all understand professionalism, and you have to do it. How do you all maintain from getting too caught up or not letting yourself get too attached to a situation and staying focused and doing what you have to do and still being able to go home at night and understanding that this is jobs and we can't become too attached? How do you keep that line between the two?
Well, it's a struggle. That's a struggle for anybody who's in this type of occupation. Mm-hmm. Keeping that separate, that way you can keep your home life and all that stuff rolling. Mm-hmm. But it's definitely a struggle, especially if you're competitive like me, where I want to win, and so therefore it kind of consumes me. And you really have to keep it in check. Mm-hmm. And you got to have people that you trust around you to help keep you in check when you're getting too lopsided.
Right.
But so the bottom line is sometimes you just have to go with it. That's usually not everybody has that built in them, and if you're going to solve something, you got to put your mind to it and get it done. Sometimes you have to let it consume you. Yeah, exactly.
To get in. All right, now can we look forward to a new season coming up, and you guys maybe are going to start filming again soon, or do you have to focus?
Well, that's way above my pay grade. We started off with 13 episodes, which in the reality world is quite a bit.
Yeah.
I guess they usually start with 6 to 8. Per season. So we had 13, which was a lot. I know the A&E Network, who owns History Channel,
mm-hmm.
Is in a little bit of flux with new administration and bean counters, if you will.
Right.
So, like I said, way above my pay grade, but that doesn't stop me from doing what I do on a daily basis. So,
of course,
hopefully if it's not this, we'll be on to something else.
Right, and because what you do it you guys do it anyway. So, on or off screen, that's what makes it real. Is on or off screen, you guys are going to be doing it. Now, how can people get in touch with your team for you to come out and be able to help them if they want you to, like if somebody has a serious issue and they would like to call you to come out and private investigate? How do they contact you?
Well, usually they contact us, all three of us, have our social media and stuff set up. It usually ends up they just contact one of us through our social medias, and it goes from there.
Right.
I also have my business website, which a lot of people contact me through too. Ken Gerhardt's based out of Texas. I'm based out of Arizona, and obviously Tommy's out of Alaska. So we got a pretty good range of dealing with people.
Right. You're able to cover everybody. And look, and so people, listen, I want you to know, so if you have, take it seriously. If you have now, let me ask you, so people know. Now, you consider all issues important if it's bothering somebody, but are there special cases that deserve more attention? Like maybe if people have gone missing. Well, you know what? Let me ask you this: what is the wildest mission anybody's ever asked you to go on, if you can say? Not in detail, but have there just been any crazy missions? Like, okay, I need to find this. Like,
well, the show had us doing some pretty wacky stuff from a standpoint of you don't really believe in paranormal stuff. For me, some of that stuff was pretty wild. I'm very much a show me the evidence. Some of this, the cryptids and legends and lore and stuff like that, being possible reasons why people go missing. Sometimes hard for me to swallow. I've learned a lot, and my eyes are a little more open to things now than I probably was before we started doing some of that stuff with Alaskan folklore.
right.
But some of the things are pretty crazy. I just gotta watch the episodes to see, because I could probably talk for half an hour on each one.
Yeah, and I'm a believer though. But Jax, I'm gonna tell you the truth. I'm a believer now. I'm a believer. I honestly believe that there are some mysterious things out here that cannot easily be explained, and people like you all are needed to do it.
Well, they're constantly discovering. Think about how populated this Earth is now, and how much we know with science, and yet we don't know anything. They're always finding stuff. Only about 5% of the world's oceans have been mapped and explored, so it tells you how much could be out there just underneath the surface. Let alone anything that's on land.
Right. Now, I got to ask this question, and I'm not being funny. I'm being serious. I was a kid. I grew up wondering about this. Are you guys ever going to, and tell me if you think this is to be taken seriously. Are you guys ever going to, do you think there's a Bigfoot possibly? Or will you guys ever look into that? The Sasquatch.
Yeah, we did. The Alaskan version of Bigfoot is called the hairy man. That's what the natives, Native Alaskans refer to him as. And it's actually much bigger than, lower 48's quote unquote Bigfoot. And it's a little bit different. But there's a ton of sightings and, eyewitnesses we spoke to and stuff like that. But, the big mystery is how can we never find a body? You know what I mean? Nobody's ever come across, a set of bones somewhere. And, there's lots of, pundits out the other side. Well, ants, they always pick up their wounded and take them, and so, it could be something like that. But, is it out there? Is something out there? They just found those great gray apes about 15 years ago in Africa that are gigantic.
How big?
I think something as big as those apes would have been found, centuries ago, but
really,
and they weren't identified. So and something out there be right there. It's a plausible explanation.
Wow, makes sense. And I guess that's a good way to look at it too in your field, is because if a legend has been going on for so long, I never thought about it that way. If a legend's been going on for so long, I guess at this point you probably would be finding bones. You might not be still looking for them unless they have some type of infinite life span.
Of course. Well, one thing when you look at legends and lore and stuff, you've got to look at globally. And one thing about the Bigfoot legend is that it's all over the world. Even here in Arizona, we have what they call the Mogollon Man, which is the Mogollon Rim, which kind of goes east of the Grand Canyon, and it's a big hiking spot. It's forested like Northern California. You never really know that you're in Arizona. But there's been sightings of a Bigfoot up there, and they call him the Mogollon Man. So all over the world you have sightings. So does that tell you something too? That different areas of people and religions and all that can still have sightings of something. So when things happen like that, it lends a little more credibility to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, we love what you do, and on behalf of myself and so many other people, we just want to say continue doing it, because again, it's not, what you do is not just a show. You actually bring knowledge. You help people learn. You help us explore, as a matter of fact, the things that we just wouldn't know. A lot of people are just, a lot of people don't get to, they don't get out of their own worlds. They're stuck under, and you're out there doing this for everybody. You're exploring. You're getting the answers to those questions that so many people would never go near. And so
Well, the fun part about the show too is you get to see Alaska. Yeah. Most people aren't fortunate enough to get to be outdoors. They live in a skyscraper. They work in a cubicle, going to the outdoors, taking their dog to the dog park. Right. But Alaska is one of these places in their mind that seems mystical. So you get to see some amazing scenery, and see something of the most beautiful area in the world.
Right. Do you all, as a matter of fact, when you all are in Alaska, do you ever get to, because you guys are always so busy working and out there alone, but do you ever get to just kind of, go talk and just kind of kick it with the people in Alaska out there and things like that?
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's a big part of what you do as an investigator. You got to talk to people. You can't be closed off. Those are people are going to talk to you. You got to get out there and make friends and connections and people that give you information and, just resources. So, yeah, it's very important to what we do.
Right. You get that information, and then you guys take it and go out there and do what you do with it. Wow. It's amazing. Listen, Jax, it's been an honor. I look forward to having you on the show again. Listen, what else is coming up? Is anything in the future that you're working on now that you want to let everybody know?
You know how entertainment stuff goes. I got a lot of irons in the fire, but they tend to sizzle or sizzle real fast. So I'm working on a few projects. I'll keep those quiet until something works out, but I'll definitely let you know when it does. Absolutely. I got the movie Split Lip coming out this summer, where I have a pretty good fight scene in that. That'll be out this summer, hopefully. That's pretty well.
We're definitely going to have you back and get ready to talk about Split Lip. I know what position. I want to ask you about it, but I know sometimes they put the holes on that, the hold on it where you can't talk about it. But are you doing something action? Are you gonna jump off anything, or is it some action? Any fight scenes?
Oh well, Split Lip. That's the biggest part I got in. I got a pretty lengthy fight scene with the main character.
I knew it. Because look, man, I gotta ask you too, because you work out, and I mean a lot of people do work out, man. But I looked at you and I said, man, this guy's really in shape. But that's part of what you have to do. You have to stay on point just to do what you do, for your body to even be able to stand the weather, the traveling, the aggressiveness of it all. How often do you stay in shape, or do you have a personal trainer, or?
No, back in the day, I was a personal trainer, so I kind of know what to do. I also owned a gym back in the day, too. So I've been around the fitness world since I was in my early teens. But I think just staying in shape is important for anybody, just for mental aspects. Right. Keeping your body, your temple sound is important for your mind. So no matter what your fitness is, whether you're into boxing or lifting weights or running or whatever, it's just important for your own mental sake to stay in shape.
That's right. And so, and that way, and a lot of producers and directors and people out there, there's your stunt guy, Jax, right there, prepared. Yeah. That's it, prepared and healthy, ready to take the fall. No doubt. Listen, Jax, it's been wonderful talking to you. Atwell Investigations, as you say, is there the website? Is there the website they can go to?
Yeah, AtwellInvestigations.com. That's my website. You can look me up on Twitter and Facebook under Jax Atwell also. So.
All right, and we'll also make sure that we post the links where you can find Mr. Atwell Investigations to get them to come out to help you guys out. Also, we'll post the links that you can go back. People can go back and check previous episodes of Missing in Alaska as well. And make sure you look out for Jax Atwell on the scene. He's making a lot of noise. And we appreciate you. Any shout outs before you go, Jax? Anybody to say hello to?
I want to thank you, man. Thanks for having me on and giving me the opportunity.
Look, I thank you for being here in this opportunity. And look, this is the first segment of the new season. So listen, we really thank you for being a part of it. Janet gives you big shouts out and says thank you too. And also, I want to remind. She said, look, she nodded her head. And listen, I also want to remind everybody out there too, in case you tuned in late or you missed it, which I always say you should have been here from the beginning. The full conversation between Jax and myself will be posted on social media for playback purposes, so you can catch it all right there, and we'll keep you posted. Jax, you do your thing. You enjoy that Arizona weather. Is it hot down there today?
It'll be low 80s today, so we'll be struggling out there.
Oh wow. Okay. All right. Listen, Jax, brother. Look, you take care, and we'll be talking to you soon, my friend. All right. Bye bye. Everybody out there, that was Mr. Jax Atwell of Missing in Alaska, Private Investigator. Listen, he's the man. You know what I'm saying? You know what? I tell you, as people, we always like to kind of notice a person, and we listen to the things that they say. We pay attention to how they talk, and we try to get an understanding, especially in what I do, because I talk to so many people. And one of the things I want to say that, about him, and I want to commend him on in particular, is this guy is so down to earth, first of all, and just a zest for life. Just the enjoyment of just want to intake things, go out there, have the free spirit, do what he does, be a genuine, kind-hearted person, and still be that tough guy to take on what a lot of us won't do. I think it makes him a well-rounded person and down to earth, as you can all see. So once again, we want to commend him, congratulate him on his success, and wish him continued success, and his cast members as well, because those guys do an amazing job. Very smart, very talented, very intelligent, and also very daring as well. So we want to thank them. Big shouts out to the whole Missing in Alaska crew. All right. Listen, you're listening to WHLR1.com. I'm your guy, Keith Harris. You're tuned into the #1 station on the net, Hotline Radio. That was Jax Atwell. We'll be talking to him again soon. And don't forget, Split Lip is coming out. We'll make sure we post something to keep you guys updated on what's going on. Don't touch that dial. You know who it is, Keith Harris. I'll be right back with you.